to work correctly. So there wasn't any audio. I think there is audio now. So we hope that works, which kind of is frustrating because I felt really good about things, but we will get there. And so we just we're just trying to work things through, and we are glad you guys. I'm sorry I didn't see that, but we're trying to get there, and so we are hopefully this is working for today now, and so we're just going to continue to be to do this post, and hopefully it will work this time. And so I hope you guys are well, and I hope everything you guys are staying warm, because it is cold out. And so we are I'm glad that we didn't end up having services today, because we got a lot of snow. And so, and I encourage you, I know this is just a devotion and this is not like a full worship service. So I encourage you, I know some people struggle with that. Find some ways to do worship. Some of the best worship times I've had have not been where we've been in a giant church service in a church building. It's been when I've been with people and we've just worshiped. And one of the best ones was a couple of years ago. I was at a conference and we had kind of a house worship type meeting in a hotel. And it was just, I think 6 guys. And we were just, we worshiped through song. We worshiped in prayer. And we then shared the word with each other. And it was an amazing time of worship. So worship is an attitude. But encourage you. Find some music. Get on YouTube, on Spotify, and find some worship music to just spend some time in worship. And I think that's important, as we're going to talk about some things connected with that in just a second. But we need that. And then as you stay warm inside, spend some time in God's Word as well. This year we started doing a Bible reading plan that is connected with the Bible recap. I've invited people to be a part of that. If you need the stuff for that, let me know. I'll send it to you. But spend some time in God's Word. That's one way we can do that. But just ask God to speak to you through His Word today. And so, So again, I hope you're staying warm. We had lots of snow as I got out this morning. And so, but I just wanted to kind of share a devotion with you. And so today we're going to, I thought about it, we've been going through Luke. And so we are actually going to look at a part of Luke 11, verses 33 through 36. Okay, technology is wonderful when it works. No one lights a lamp and puts it in a place where it will be hidden, or under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand so that those who come in may see the light. Your eye is the lamp of your body, and when your eyes are healthy, your whole body is full of light. But when they are unhealthy, your body is also full of darkness. See to it, then, that the light within you is not darkness. Therefore, if your whole body is full of light and no part of it dark, it will be just as full of light as when a lamp shines its light on you. Now, Jesus, in this passage, he talks about light and lamps. And when we think of light today, I mean, we've got, LED bulbs, we got spotlights. I've got a little ring light. You can see the reflection for up there to give some light here. There's light above me. When we think of light, we think in those terms, but in the ancient world, they didn't have any of those things. What they literally used lamps, and their lamps would have looked like one of these two, right? Or something similar. Essentially, they're oil lamps that they put oil. This is just a simple pinch oil lamp that would have been very, very common because it was easy to make and it was cheap. They would put, and this is just a one that was molded. And so what they would do is they would put the oil in the bowl, and then there would be a wick that would come out, and they would light that. And that would, the oil would flow through the wick and it would burn and it would light the area. Well, this isn't going to put near as much light as as like overhead lighting or spotlights or anything, or LED lights, right? So what they had to do is they had to decide where they were going to put those lamps so that they would spread out the most amount of light. I think about, when we didn't have power a couple weeks ago in the Fields household, we had lots of candles going, and we placed the candles where they would illuminate things. And that also reminds us why light is important. The point of light, the purpose of light, is to illuminate, is to shine forth. And I think it's important that we don't miss that and we don't forget that. Jesus calls us to think about light. And really, Jesus calls us to be light because of what he's doing in our life. And then Jesus moves on to talk about the eye and light in the eye and darkness and what that means. And so it might be kind of confusing, but really when it comes down to it, the way we see things, and what we choose to focus on matters. And when we think about sight, man, we can look at things through different lenses. Just like I have these glasses, these eyeglass lenses, I see things differently when I don't have my glasses on than when I do. I see things more clearly because they're my prescription. But one of the things that we see in this is how we see the world and God speaks a lot about our internal state. And that's what part of what Jesus is getting at. That our internal state is affected by those things, and we can see what's going on internally in someone else by the way that they choose to look at things. Have you ever known a person that the greatest thing in the world could happen to them? They could all of a sudden, out of nowhere, win their dream car, and they would look at it and they would be handed keys to the car and this is yours. And instead of celebrating, they're like, do you know how much I'm going to have to pay in taxes for that? Do you know how much more money I'm going to have to spend on gas for that? Or do you know how much my insurance is going to go up? All those things, looking at the negative things. While there's reality to some of those things, sometimes they miss the point, right? It's not that that's all there is. It's not that that's not something happening, but they choose to focus on those things. Or maybe someone who gets a giant promotion at work and a big raise. Instead of celebrating that, they choose to say, you know what? That raise, that's going to mean I'm in a different tax bracket. I'm going to have to refigure out things. Or that raise, the promotion, really, I've got a lot more responsibility. Why am I going to do all those things? Choosing to look at things in that way. How we view things matters. And we've seen people that they go to the negative. In fact, we live in a culture where a lot of people automatically look at the negative things instead of taking time to see the positive first and being able to balance things. And part of that has to do with the way they see things, and they're the things that are clouding their vision, that are tinting their vision, right? And that's a problem. That's what Jesus is talking about here. A healthy outlook, a healthy eye, is one that is, I think, filled with the things of God. If our heart is filled with other things, that's from the inside, we see the bad things come out through the way we see things. If our heart and mind is cluttered with things like greed and animosity and pride and sin, then the light is going to have a hard time entering, and the light is not going to be what's seen. It's going to be seen a lot of darkness and not a lot of negative things instead. And so we have to ask ourselves, what are we allowing to have a place in our heart? And what are we looking at? What are the things that we are consuming when it comes to our life? Things that we see, things that we think about, things that we read, things that we listen to. And the reason that's important, the reason that ties into this is because That which we behold, we become beholden to. And what that means is the things we focus on, the things that we look at, the things that we spend our time investing in, those are the things that captivate us, that capture us, right? Because those words are related and the same sort of idea. And if they are not the things of God, if they're the things like, things that bring about anger, pride, things that are not godly, things that make us not look to the things of God, but things of this world, then they are going to crowd out the light. They're going to shade everything that we see. We have a choice on what we focus on. We have a choice on how we operate. And we need to think that through. And we need to make sure we're doing it. But the great thing about that is Jesus doesn't say, you need to fix that yourself. Instead, what he tells us, he says, first of all, he is the light of the world. He tells us in John, I am the light of the world. And he then tells us that he wants to help us. That's the amazing thing. Jesus tells us to get that darkness out, but he also offers to help because he is the light. And he offers to transform our lives from the inside out if we will allow it. If we choose to spend our time and our effort being captivated by him and the things of God. So that's an important thing. And, I know we have a lot of snow, and so this is kind of a funny way to look at it, but the difference between how we view things and what matters to us. Pastor Jared likes Legos, but so this, I'm going to show something in a minute that's connected with it. But the idea of this forecast, people are like, oh, this is the end of the world. Go buy all the groceries you can. It's interesting. We're going to be, stuck with this snow and not be able to get around much for a couple days. And it's like people go out and they buy food for a month, right? Because they're looking at the negative, because they're looking at things that are the worst possible thing and really not even realistic. Sherry and I, we like the C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. We've read it with our kids. Sherry listens to it on a regular basis on audiobook. She just not long ago listened to The Silver Chair, and it's got a character in it called Puddleglum, and he is that person that looks at everything negatively. He is that person that everything positive, it means something terrible is going to happen. And so, that's the negative way to view it. But this is just a fun thing. We're stuck inside for a little bit, and that's okay. And so as I was, on Facebook, I saw this yesterday, and I thought it was kind of funny. Pastor Jared likes Legos, and so this is the Lego alert. And so what it means is this is how many sets of Legos people who have gotten this amount of snow will be able to put together in the next couple of days as they are waiting to get out from under the snow. It's kind of a funny thing, right? The more snow, the more weather we get, the more sets of Legos you get. That's a different positive way to look at things. It's funny, I think. But I think it also speaks to how are we going to view this? One of the questions is, what are we going to do with this time? Can we take this time and use time that we're inside, that we're not going to be going many places, especially today, right? Positively. I talked about spending time in worship, spending time in God's Word, spending time in prayer today. Maybe today you also need to spend some time resting, and focusing on the things of God. Spending time with your family. Do that. Because the things that we spend time and energy on, those are going to be the things that do captivate us, that do speak to how we view things. And we have a choice in that matter. So Jesus tells us he's the true light. Well, are we going to focus on the things of God, or are we going to allow the things of this world and the things of darkness to take over? Man, we can choose to go to dark places. We can choose to focus on things that are not of God, and we can choose to look at everything as gloom and doom. But that is not the perspective that God calls us to. And Jesus says when we do that, we are unhealthy and we're in a bad place. And he wants to make sure we're not there. And so this idea of perspective, if our perspective is distorted, our whole life will be in the dark if we allow it. So I have glasses, and I had a scratch on one of the lenses one of the last times I went to see the optometrist. I didn't know it, but it was affecting how I saw things. It was right in my field of vision, and I didn't realize it. And when I got it fixed, oh my goodness, I could see so much better. And so that's why it's important for us to decide to get rid of those things that have places in our heart, in our life, get rid of those things that we spend a lot of time focusing on that take away from the light in our life. We are called to shine the light of Jesus to the world around us. We are called to be light. And in order for us to allow that to shine out from us, we have to do some work in our life. We have to spend some time focusing on the things of God, allowing Jesus to be the one that captivates our life. Jesus to be the one who gives us the perspective. He's the lens through which we look at everything. You know, that's hard sometimes. We live in a world that's not the case. We live in a world that looks at everything negatively many times, you know, but we are called to be different. You know, we are called to look for what God is doing. And many times that means assume the best. It means that we don't go around being offended, because many times people who get offended, people can get offended even when you compliment them. You know, I think of the movie scene with Joe Pesci when someone says that, oh, you're a funny guy. And instead of, oh, thank you, he goes into this whole thing about how that was an insult to him. Am I a clown? You know, is that what you were really saying? Yeah, I was just saying he was funny. How are we going to view the world around us? Are we going to view it through the things of darkness, through pride, through bitterness, through anger, through insecurity, through sin and greed? Or are we going to allow Jesus to be the one who captivates our life, to give us the vision to see the way things God intended us to? We have a choice in that. So today I encourage you, spend some time in worship, spend some time in prayer, and spend some time making sure you have allowed the light of Jesus to transform your life and to get rid of those dark things that may have clouded your vision in the past. Stay warm and have a blessed day.